Medium.com is a somewhat popular entertainment site that just features content from a wide range of authors, and one that focuses mostly on atheist delusions is Lilith Helstrom. But Medium.com is currently promoting this article, which is basically calling every U.S. president ever stupid. It's called "Children Are Smarter Than Christians." Now, bear in mind, this type of mockery is hate speech. It's speech targeted against a group meant to dehumanize, delegitimize a specific group, and as such, it is hate speech because we've learned over the past few years that criticism of a specific group is hate speech, right? So let's just dive into this. So her husband, who's 40, he ran into a Christian fella, and he was asking him questions about prayer. And one thing he asked is, how do I know that I'm really talking to someone else and not to myself? My answer to this question is that, well, the God of the Bible says, I know your thoughts and all your ways. I know the depths of the sea. I know the measure, the entire volume of the oceans. I've planned it all, and I know all of your thoughts. So the same series of books, which has 1,500 prophecies, 1,000 of which have come true. And if you ever try to predict the future, you got to be impressed by those numbers. That same book, reveals this level of accuracy. On a personal note here, I can note that, we've witnessed cancer being miraculously healed. We've witnessed great heights in our finances through pursuing the Lord. I mean, time after time, if you see prayers answered, you start to consider, this is really working. And if you've never had your prayers answered and you've never seen anything from it, perhaps your heart is one of those hearts meant to be darkened, not meant to ever see the light of Christ, which, fair enough, every knee will bow one day, and I don't decide whether that happens pre-mortem or post-mortem. The Lord does, right? So she goes a little bit into this interaction. So the thing I want to highlight here is this last paragraph. In order to join the Christian religion, you have to stop asking things and just start accepting things that logically make zero sense. That sounds like something I would have said whenever I was 19. So I was an atheist from 19 to 24, and during that time, I hadn't done a deep dive into apologetics. And if you hop onto the channel page, sorry, there's a light on my face. Light on my face. Light of the world, right? But if you hop into apologetics, I have some apologetics content featured on my channel, which just dives into some of the work by skeptics who have become Christian after studying the evidence for Christianity. This author is ignoring the hosts of people that have become Christian because they've dived into the evidence for Christianity. This is really small thinking on the author's part. There's no mention of any types of apologetics or theology. This is more of a, we're atheists and we're so smart. Which, why would that even matter, right? So if we're all living in a deterministic universe, which is what Stephen Hawking suggests is the natural function of scientific naturalism and their views, is that, hey, it's all kind of predetermined, right? So if you're a naturalist, everything is predetermined. If everything's predetermined, then none of us are actually deciding our thoughts. It's just kind of all existing in a domino effect. And if none of us are deciding our thoughts, and this is, by the way, one of the reasons why people with certain political views are so loose whenever it comes to crime, is because none of us are ultimately responsible for our thoughts or actions. Well, if all that's true, then you're just acting within a domino effect. Like, why are you picking and prodding at specific groups, especially a group that encompasses every single U.S. president, Republican, Democrat, modern, past, Abraham Lincoln, Obama, JFK, all of them were Christians, all of them believed in prayer. And then noting the hypocrisy here of this individual, there's another article. Let's see if we can hop on this real fast. Dianne Feinstein's death reveals a disturbing trend. Just to show you, nothing against this author. I agree with a lot of what she says here about how we're having these people in Congress very late into their life where they can't speak or make any decisions for themselves. We currently have a U.S. president whose brain doesn't work, right? Everyone knows that. That's not a left or right thing. You know, I try to avoid politics on this channel. It's not a left or right thing. Everyone knows that the president's brain is not really working and that he's taking orders, and the same was true of this woman who had died and was a senator for quite some time. But it gets into a lot of moral claims, and if you dig into this author's work, you will see a lot of moral claims. They have an idea and a sense of justice, right? Where does that come from? If we are purposeless creatures void of meaning, then none of that matters. None of it. None of these moral claims that she makes matters. It's such a deep hypocrisy to have this claim of morality, which is invented in the mind. It's just this empty thing that doesn't mean anything. And if nothing means anything and our lives are pointless and there's no God, why does she spend so much time on moral claims? And I'll tell you why. It's because she has the image of God imbued within her. She has a thirst for justice. It might be distorted, it might be perverted, but she has this desire for justice in her heart, as all people do, because we are created in the image of God. So, yeah, a lot of hypocrisy in this author's writings. She shows that she's made in the image of God, even as she mocks those who worship God over a interaction where she felt like a guy wasn't being professional. I mean, can you imagine? I run into one atheist who can't explain themselves very well, and then I say, well, Christians are all smarter than kids are all smarter than atheists. Kids are all smarter than Muslims, right? Because this is a condemnation of prayer. This whole article is a condemnation of prayer. All the world's major religions believe in prayer. So Christ is king. Every knee will bow. Just thought I'd share that with you. Have a good one.